Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Chatting with Chops. My name is Karen and we're gonna have some fun today. Have you ever had those awesome Cracker Barrel biscuits and always wondered what was in them? Well, today we're gonna try and see if we can make a copycat recipe of them, but make them vegan too. So let's get started. Okay, so it wasn't enough to try and make a Cracker Barrel biscuit copycat recipe, but I decided we should try and make it vegan too. So I figured we'd step up our game today. And the first thing that we need is just some plain old Bisquick mix. Now I will tell you what's in Bisquick. It is vegan and it's flour, shortening, salt, sugar, and baking powder. And it is considered vegan. There is no meat products or anything in it. So we're going to start with that first. And we need 2 1/4 cups. I always just look at Bisquick as being kind of a little bit of a cheat. Kind of saves you on ingredients of not having to buy all those individual ingredients. So there's our 2 cups. And then we need to get our 1/4 cup. Okay. Yep. All right. And then we need, the recipe asks for 2/3 cup of buttermilk, but we're going to use just regular old almond milk. Since again, we're trying to make this recipe vegan. So we need 2/3 cup of regular almond milk. Again, I have not tried this before, so I'm going ahead and telling you, it might be a fail at the end, but we're going to hope for success. And then we need a little teaspoon of regular granulated sugar. Okay, and then we're going to mix all that together and make sure it's well mixed. All right, so we've gotten that all mixed together. I just want to get that off of my paddle real quick, and then we're going to add in our tablespoon of vegan butter. And that's the last ingredient to add. Okay. And we're going to get that mixed in real quick. So the next thing we need to get together is our cake pan. This particular recipe asks for an 8 by 8 inch cake pan that we're going to put the biscuits in. It's only supposed to make about 8, so you really are working with a small container. I like to use wax paper on the bottom of mine because I don't like for my recipes to stick. So I've got that ready, and we're preheating our oven to 450 degrees right now while we do this next step. So the next thing we need to do is get some flour on our surface, because we're going to take our lovely biscuit dough that we've got going on here. Let's get rid of our jewelry. Nobody wants biscuit dough in their ring, at least I don't think so. Okay, and then we're going to plop this out on our floured surface. Always make sure you got flour on your hands, otherwise everything you're working with is just going to stick to you. Okay. And what's really funny is the recipe specifically says you're supposed to knead it 20 times, which I think is hilarious. So, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right, so one of the things that I like to mention too is, depending on how many you make out of your recipe, how small you make or how big you make them will depend on how many calories are in each one. Now, starting off, I figured up the ingredients for just what we have, and if we make 8 biscuits, then we're going to end up with each biscuit's going to have about 150 calories per biscuit, which is really actually pretty good for a nice good biscuit. I don't even know if we're going to get 8 out of here, because I'm going to use just a little 2-inch cutter and see how that works for us. Let's bring this down here where we can get to it. Okay. So there's one. And I usually just try and make sure I've knocked off, for the most part, any of the big flour, because nobody wants to eat extra flour. And you just want to make sure you make best use of your space, because you want to get, I mean, I don't know about you, but I want to get the most amount of biscuits that I can, and I'm having them touch so that they'll rise really well. Okay, so we're up to 4, and then there's 5, and if you can tell, my dough is about a 1/2 inch thick, probably a little bit less than a 1/2 inch. All right, there is 6. So the recipe says we should be able to get 8. So let's see if we can get 8 out of the 2 more out of this remaining dough. These might not be as pretty because you see the dough has kind of been broken down in pieces, so there's some seams and such. Okay. All right. And there is 7. And we have 8. And we could see if we could get a 9th one out of here. Let's see if we can get a bonus. I'm just going to take these pieces and kind of just blend them together, not worry about the cutter, but just see if we can get them kind of, there we go. Okay, so we've got 9 out of here. All right, now if you want to just leave them like this, you can do this, and that makes them actually Cracker Barrel biscuits. But the recipe also says that if you want them to be like KFC or Popeye's biscuits, that you need to rub a little melted butter on the top of them. So we're going to do that on a few of these. Okay, like I said, so that we can have maybe half of these be Cracker Barrel biscuits and half of them be KFC biscuits. We're going to rub some melted butter on just a few of them. And that way we can say we have both. Okay, we'll do one more. Right, and then again, as a last minute effort, I just try and make sure I check to make sure there's not any excess flour sticking to the top of them, because again, nobody wants to eat excess flour. All right, so we're going to stick these in the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about 8 to 10 minutes. We're just going to wait and see how they look. As I've mentioned before, older ovens cook differently, so it might take longer, it might take less time, depending on if your oven, heats really quickly. I wasn't really meaning for this video to turn out to be a Bisquick commercial, but I will tell you that I don't use this very often, but it is a handy little thing to have in your cabinet every now and again. I have made the waffles. My husband does not like the big, dense waffles that I usually make for my daughter. He likes the really good, thin, crisp ones, so that works out really well if you use the Bisquick mix. And then they also have these, they call them biscuits. I call them little drop biscuits because they look like little, just dropped by the spoon. You just mix up Bisquick and a little bit of milk and kind of mix it together, and then you drop the dough by spoonfuls into a cookie sheet and cook them for about 10 minutes, and that's what they turn out to be. So they're quick little biscuits. But I just thought I'd share that with you. Like I said, I made these the other night, and they're really great for a quick fix if you want a little bit of bread with your meals. And especially if you want to make it vegan, just be careful, because obviously it just says milk, eggs, oil. Obviously you would substitute the egg and make sure that you're using vegan milk and such as that. So, all right, so here they are, freshly out of the oven. I let them cook at 450 for about 10 minutes. And I'm going to put some more vegan butter on the top of them just to make them even more yummy. And then I'm going to let them cool off a little bit here in the pan. I'm going to take them out and we'll see what they look like when I take them out. Okay, so now you're going to get to see what the fun part of having wax paper works so beautifully. See? Look at there. Now you can see how pretty they are on the bottom too. So now I'm just going to break them apart. And we're just going to let them sit here on this wire rack and cool off. But I would call that a success. Look how gorgeous those are. Nice, thick, wonderful biscuits. Look just like Cracker Barrel to me, maybe even a little thicker than Cracker Barrel. You can see these ones that had to be, the dough had to be rolled again, how they're kind of broken apart. So keep that in mind. If you want yours to all be really pretty, then you're just going to need to roll out your dough maybe a little bit thinner. So this was the Cracker Barrel Copycat recipe that we made vegan, and they're about 150 calories per biscuit. Now we did get an extra one, so you could probably say that it's less than 150 calories per biscuit. But again, hope you like. Please subscribe.